Welcome back to the next episode of the All or Something podcast with Sohee and Ben. We actually have a name now. We've announced it. It's official.
This is the first time we've
actually said the
on
name.
The podcast.
We actually had it decided before we launched the podcast, but you said you wanted to put feelers out there in case we came up or someone came up with an even better name.
Is this episode 5?
Maybe 5.
5?
I've already lost count. Anyway,
let's roll.
We're in for some fun chats. Today we're talking about you.
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking about your journey, personal journey with fitness, career, social media. And then we're also going to dive into some things you've said online that have stirred up some controversy and gotten good engagement. So
I would like the record to show that we are doing this. I originally said I don't like episodes about the host because I think as a listener, you're like, I don't really want to listen to a whole episode about that person. It feels a bit self-indulgent. However, I think it's important for us to do one each first before we ever have guests on, because that way if people want to know more about us, they can come back to here. So this is like laying the foundations.
Yeah.
There's not going to be a whole podcast series of us talking about
only
us.
ourselves.
This is like, we need a couple of episodes to find our feet.
Yeah. But I think it's fun too even for people who have followed you for a long time. I'm sure they'll learn some things about you today, whether it's your personal fitness history or a belief of yours that they didn't know about before. So I think it'll be fun to dive into.
I've specifically said the questions should be things that people aren't going to know already, because we need something enlightening.
Yes.
If people are like, I already know that, I already know that, it'll be
okay.
boring.
First things first, we're going to rewind all the way back till who knows what year. Tell me more about when did you first become interested in fitness, specifically lifting weights?
Yeah.
And also what made you dive into learning more about nutrition?
Okay, I will do this super fast because I don't think it's very interesting. I was at a school and they built a leisure center gym next to the school. And I was in sixth form, which I think is like a college equivalent.
And
I don't know
what age is that?
Like 17.
Okay.
So they built a leisure center next to the school. The leisure center had a gym. And because I had free periods, I would do a class, have a couple of hours, have another class. I couldn't go home. I don't think I could drive at the time.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have made sense for me to have gone home anyway. So I used to go lift weights in the gym. Well, actually, I went to the gym and I had a free program from the fitness manager there who gave me a bodybuilding routine. And there was so much volume in there that I think the first time I did it, I nearly threw up and I couldn't walk for a week. And that was the program I was given.
Cool.
So I wanted to build muscle. I probably was trying to make myself feel a bit more confident. Probably hoping.
Were you very skinny?
I've always been a slimmer guy.
Yeah.
I was the kind of guy that when I was 16 years old, I was doing sit-ups in my bedroom.
Okay, so that was something you were self-conscious about.
Yeah,
at the time.
I think a lot of it did start from either being self-conscious or hoping that it would increase my confidence. And one thing that I noticed, especially when I was that younger guy doing sit-ups, like I'm going to do 1,000 sit-ups or whatever it was in my bedroom.
Relatable, yeah.
One thing that I did notice is I started getting more compliments from girls. And I think it reinforced...
About your body?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which was nice because I don't think I'm like the best looking guy. I don't remember when I was at school.
Agree with that.
I don't remember girls flocking to me. I don't remember compliments being thrown at me. I don't remember lots of people being like, oh my God, he's so hot.
Yeah.
But people did start complimenting me on my body, which kind of reinforced what I was doing. And this is good, this is nice. I was getting external validation. So I kind of kept it going. And it just became that like spiral where I started getting more and more obsessive more focused on changing the way I looked. And
then were you self-taught when it comes to lifting form and things like that?
So I had a program from the fitness manager at the time. Still remember the guy's name. Still remember the program. It was like incline dumbbell press, flat dumbbell press, decline dumbbell press.
Every angle.
flat dumbbell flies, pec deck, like 3 sets of each, 10 to 12. One of those type of like bodybuilding splits. And that's kind of how I started. And you know this about me, and people that have followed me for a while probably know this about me. I have a tendency to get quite obsessive about things. Things that I like, I get stuck into.
Yes.
And
like your yo-yo obsession.
Yo-yo obsession. Most people won't know about that. I can add a visual on the screen for anyone watching on YouTube.
Yeah.
yo-yo obsession when I was a kid, like football sticker collection, how I got involved on social media, like personal training. Everything for me was if I find something I liked, I went balls deep. And that's kind of where it started. So I went to the gym. I loved going to the gym. Then I started reading like bodybuilding magazines. Other gyms that I went to had like Flex and Muscle and Fitness and Men's Health and all of those magazines. So I started reading those, and I was reading the programs from like fitness models in there.
Yeah.
And one thing like
what I'm hearing then is that you started lifting weights as a way to pass the time.
Pretty much.
And then it became a positive feedback loop. And then you became more and more interested, and it turned into an obsession, which has, I don't know that I would still call it an obsession to this day, but it's definitely a huge part of your life.
So when I was 17, I don't know if this is going to be like a follow-up question, but it might be. When I was 17 or turning 18, so I got a job in the gym and I became like a fitness assistant, which is me cleaning equipment. And I had to decide what my career path was going to be. And there were two things that I loved. One was computers. One was...
What about computers specifically?
Doesn't matter. I just enjoyed... I
can see you.
I liked IT.
Yeah.
And I did work experience at a company that involved IT, but it was really monotonous. Sitting in an office, I felt like it dumbed my brain. Like I really struggled to keep attention for 8 hours looking at a screen. And I thought to myself, as much as I love computers and I'm fascinated with the technology, I don't think it's good for my health if I go down a path where I'm sitting in an office for 8 hours a day or 9 hours a day or whatever. And I remember having this conversation with like my sister. I was like, I think I can earn more money if I go into IT, but I think I would enjoy it. And I think it would be better for my overall health and well-being if I got into fitness. And that was basically how it started. That's why I became a personal trainer. It was a passion that evolved. And I thought, hopefully I can make a career out of this.
Yeah. So that actually does answer my next question, which was how did you turn fitness into a career and why? What made you want to do that? So that makes sense. It's like the only thing that really interested you.
Literally just a passion. And it was a passion that came from a fairly apathetic teenager. So one of my friends, a couple of years later, every Christmas Eve, loads of people from our year used to go back to the same pub that we were drinking when we were slightly underage.
Yeah.
And every Christmas Eve, so I would see friends that I hadn't seen for a year. It was like a reunion, and we did it for probably like 2, 3, 4 years, something like that. And I remember seeing one of my friends who I'd known since, we say kindergarten.
Yeah. Like 6-ish
I think
years
it was
old?
younger in England.
5 or 6, something
Yeah, I
like
think
that.
it was actually, I think I had known her since I was like 3 or 4. And I remember her saying to me very distinctly, she had asked about my job and she saw what I was doing and she saw this like passion in me. And she said, suddenly it all makes sense. And I was like, how do you mean? She said, at school, you were so smart, it was like you didn't give a shit because you could get away with doing no work. I was the kid that kind of very rarely revised for things. I would turn up and coast through and I could pass without putting much effort in. I went from being like an A student when I was younger to just, And she said, it was like you weren't interested. And now you found something that actually interests you.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you have interest.
Yeah.
And I thought that was like astute observation because I hadn't even thought of that.
Side thought, I know you'll agree with me. I don't believe that everyone is cut out for academic setting.
Yeah.
To thrive in an academic setting, especially with the school systems. And I don't think that's necessarily a reflection of how intelligent or how smart someone is.
Yeah, I agree.
My brother is the same way. Very smart, not cut out for a school setting.
Yeah.
That was all.
Okay.
You started lifting weights, you turned it into a career. Eventually, you started posting on social media. Tell me about that segue.
Super quick again. I was working in a gym. I then qualified as a personal trainer. I went to work in another gym, self-employed. This was when my career kind of started. I qualified as a personal trainer when I was 18, turning 19 or 17, turning 18, turning 19, I think. Anyway, people would come up to me in the gym and say things like, oh, I've read this article in this newspaper and it says that red meat is bad for this or eggs are bad for this or whatever. What do you think? And I love fitness. If someone comes up to me in the gym and they have a question, I am more than happy to sit there talking about it because it's fun. I don't view it as work. It's like, this is a passion of mine. So when they came up to me and asked me questions, I would say whatever my answer was.
Yeah.
And after a while, I realized that if I did this on social media, I could help more people. So, for example, when I decided to become a personal trainer, I remember it very vividly. A guy came up to me and said, I'm struggling to build muscle. This was back when I was a gym assistant and I was cleaning equipment. I'm struggling to build muscle. And I said, what's your routine like? What are you eating, etc.? And he said, well, I eat loads of protein because I eat like a loaf of bread a day or half a loaf of bread a day. And I remember saying, wait, I'm like, stop the bus a sec. Did you say that you're eating bread as your main source of protein? And he said, yeah, I heard protein's
interesting,
high in bread. And I was like,
not
really. Bread is high in protein. I was like, not really. It's predominantly a source of carbohydrates. And he was shocked because he had been eating so much of it. And afterwards, when I finished, the fitness manager came over to me and said, just as an FYI, we don't get paid to help people above and beyond them joining the gym. So if someone joins the gym and they pay their membership, that pays the staff salary. This was before personal training was even really a thing.
So he's saying you're doing too much.
I'm doing too much. And I wasn't doing anything above and beyond. Like I wasn't even a qualified personal trainer at the time. I wasn't giving advanced nutrition knowledge. I literally just said, bread is not high in protein. It's predominantly high in carbohydrates.
Whoa.
And he's saying,
pull it back.
He is saying, pull it back.
Pull back the health.
And I remember thinking, if I literally can't even talk about basic nutrition and basic training to someone who was kind of desperate for help, I need to be in a position where I can do that. So that was when I decided to go and become a personal trainer.
And then you were started posting on YouTube first, right? In like 2009-ish?
YouTube and so I qualified as a personal trainer in 2006. I started posting on YouTube and Facebook, I think 2009.
Okay.
And it literally started because you will know this as a personal trainer. Most personal trainers will know this. If you say to a client, we're going to do Bulgarian split squats today, we're going to do Romanian deadlift, whatever. Occasionally, a few days later, a client will text you and say, I forgot this exercise. So what I started doing is my old YouTube videos, I can put a visual up again, was literally an exercise library. If I was doing an exercise in the gym like dumbbell flies,
which is still very helpful,
barbell hack squat, I would just film it. I didn't talk through. I just filmed it, put music over it. And that way, when a client said, I forgot how to do a lunge, or what's the difference between a lunge and a split squat, or a rear foot elevated, like those type of things. And all I did was, here's a link to a video that I've done so you can see what I think is good technique.
Yeah.
And because of that, that's kind of how my social media started. It was a slow spiral of, I think I can make free content that helps people. And then over time, as it started getting more traction, it made me more excited to answer other people's questions.
Yeah.
And that is what started what is now, 16 years of social media.
Yeah. And going back to your exercise library, I feel like that takes us back to when video content was much easier and much simpler. And now, obviously, social media has evolved over the years and you have to do more and more, have to get more and more creative to get the engagement that you want.
Yeah. It's true.
You did a good job. You are known on social media as being a very compassionate, I think that's a very common word people use to describe you, compassionate trainer. Have you always been this way? Or do you feel like when you first started out in fitness, as is the case for many people, including myself, were you a lot more extreme and hardcore in your approach?
I was not always the way I am now, and several big life moments have shaped the trajectory of my personality. I used to be more militant. I wasn't what I would describe as wanky militant. I know there are some personal trainers who will literally yell at clients as if it's a military boot camp. I've never been a yell at your client.
I've been in those environments and I hated it.
I know that I've been in some environments where I was fine with it, like a spin class with someone yelling. I was okay with that. There was
energy.
There was group adrenaline. There was high energy. I didn't mind that. But the idea of like a client doing a plank and a personal trainer towering over them, shouting how many seconds they need to hold it for, it didn't vibe with me. That's not my personality. So I was never that kind of militant trainer. But I was definitely someone who lacked more empathy. And part of that is, I think, when you're young, and I've talked about this many times, when you're young and you love the gym and exercise is second nature for you because you love the gym, it can become difficult to empathize with people who don't love the gym as much as you do.
This is relatable. Yeah.
And it's so
because you actually like it. Yeah.
Right. And it's so common for people just go to the gym.
Yeah.
And it's like, I know how easy that sounds, but you're talking about your chosen hobby.
Yeah.
The gym was my chosen hobby. It was my career. It was my passion.
Yeah.
And there are lots of people who go to the gym because they feel they need to, but they would prefer not to. They would prefer to go home. They'd prefer to see their family after work. They're tired, whatever it is. And after working with a more diverse clientele, I realized that I was just being a little bit of a dickhead. And like, for example, there was a guy who was, I think he was only a year or two younger than me. I still remember the guy's name. I love my clients. Like, I can still pull up some of that information on my laptop. I still have old folders and things. There's a guy called James. And he said to me, young guy in university, back when I was personal trainer in Oxford, he said, I would like to get your results. I would like to be more muscular like you, but I don't want to live my life like you do.
Okay.
He asked me how I ate. He asked me things like, do you ever drink alcohol?
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I do not. How strict is your diet? It's very strict. All the time? All the time. How often do you train? This many times a week.
Yeah.
You never deviate? I never deviate. And he was just like, I can't do that. I don't want to do that.
Right.
He was a university guy. He wanted to go and get drunk on weekends. He wanted to be fast and loose with his nutrition sometimes. And I didn't connect with him because I was portraying an unrealistically strict lifestyle. And part of the reason I have kind of relaxed my approach is not because I don't think there's a time and a place for strict lifestyles. I'm not one of those people that pretends that diet quality doesn't matter and being slack will always get you as good results as if you're being perfectly strict all the time. It's just most people don't want to be perfectly strict all the time. So part of the reason I tended to be more realistic is because for most people, you have to meet them where they are at.
Yeah.
And most people are not hardcore fitness enthusiasts.
Yeah. Or they can be for a brief period of time and then they rebound.
People going on super strict diets in January and then by February, they've already gone back to what they were doing before. A lot of people in the fitness industry will know this cycle. For me, I just prefer to shift towards trying to do something more sustainably.
Well, okay. Obviously, that was many years ago. You are, I'm going to give you a lot of kudos here. You are a lot more flexible now. And I wouldn't, to the layperson, they might see you as hardcore still. I don't see you as being very hardcore anymore, especially compared to how you were when we first met, or even how you're describing yourself, where you were so strict with your diet, so strict with your workouts. You've adopted a level of cognitive flexibility that I feel like allows you to have a lot of other stuff going on in your life in a good way. Tell me about that transition.
I worked with too many people who were just not on the same level that I was. Gym is not a top priority for most people.
Right.
People who love the gym, when they wake up in the morning, will often think, when is my gym routine?
I can't wait for my workout.
That's a high priority.
I'm excited
for me.
It. Yes.
In fact, for me, the gym was such a high priority that I used to schedule my day around it. So because I was a self-employed personal trainer, if my preferred time to work out was midday, for example, I would put my workouts in and then my day would be built around it. So I would wake up, I'd have breakfast, I might see 2 clients, then I'd have a break, have a coffee, then I'll do my workout. So I could literally build my day around my preferred workout time. But most people are not doing that. They already have a job, they already have a lifestyle, they already have a family and responsibilities and all of that stuff. And the gym is trying to slot it in as and where they can. And I just realized that I wasn't meeting people where they were at. I was projecting what I was hoping other people were like, which was actually just a projection of how I viewed fitness, not how other people viewed fitness.
But what about with yourself? What made you become more relaxed with yourself, with your own workouts? Because when I first met you 6 years ago, you were working out, you were lifting twice a day, 7 days a week.
Twice a day, every day. I've gone through peaks and troughs with it. So I became far more obsessive, for anyone who's listened to it already, after I was first diagnosed with Crohn's disease. And when I was recovering from that, because I lost so much weight, I became super obsessed about trying to look the way I looked before.
Working your way back.
Yeah. I'd lost 50 pounds, 24 kilos-ish. I was extremely frail. I was struggling to walk. I was bedbound. So I started training almost like, not as much as I could, but it was like, most people go to the gym, if they're doing well, 4 times a week. That's great for beginners. But for me, I was like, what happens if I go 6 times a week? Do I really need a day off? Can I go 7 times a week? Instead of having a day off, maybe I can just break up my body parts more. So while my legs are resting, I can train chest, like an old body building split. And I would experiment with different things. And I got to the point where I was training 7 days a week, often twice a day. And it was a very hard cycle to break. I think people that have competed or they've been a fitness model or a bodybuilder, they will go through periods where they amp their training up and they amp their nutrition and all of those things that athletes tend to do. And I think once you've been in that mode, it's often hard to feel like you're taking your foot off the metaphorical pedal.
Right.
And I wasn't very good at doing that. So once I had gone through those phases, it was very hard for me to go back to, well, actually, I don't need to train as much as I'm training. I don't have to train for an hour at a time or an hour and a half at a time. I could train for less. And it was hard to get to a point where I was being smarter about my overall health and well-being rather than just looking through the lens of I'm trying to get as muscular as possible after this
I have a side
illness.
comment and then a follow-up question to this. Side comment, backtracking a little bit, somewhat relevant to what you're saying now, is the idea that, and there's research that supports this, when you are doing an activity that you enjoy, you require less discipline to do that activity, right? So that's one. So
like the myth of willpower.
Correct. So when we talk about, well, it's easy for me, I like it, so why isn't it easy for you? You have to remember, a lot of people don't know, especially when you have a level of intrinsic motivation for a hobby, any activity, it is actually easier for you. So when you say you're more disciplined, it might not necessarily be that you're more disciplined. It might simply be that you have more fun doing it.
So this goes into something that a lot of my second book was about. This isn't a book plug. It's the idea that something becomes habitual and then it takes less willpower.
And then there's that too, is stronger habits require less willpower.
And one of the examples that I have used on social media is someone was interviewing Arnold Schwarzenegger and said, why do you work out? And he said, same reason I eat breakfast. I ate breakfast every day, however many decades ago. This is part of my routine. Right. And the point is, it doesn't take a lot of summoning of inner willpower for people where it's super ingrained. Right. And a lot of people in the fitness industry, myself included, for sure, exercise is so ingrained that it takes more deviation from a path for me to miss a workout than it does to include it. Correct. Because for me, if I've got a workout plan tomorrow, I know when I'm doing it, I know what I'm going to do. And not doing that is a choice or something
in a way
that's
harder.
Yeah.
And an example that I like to bring up to help drive this home is, imagine you are someone who, you've been a chronic nail biter your whole life, something like that. You want to break that habit.
Great.
It is much, much harder to stop biting your nails because it is such a strong habit that you do. Or bringing it back to fitness nutrition, emotional eating. You are a stress eater. Imagine trying to break that habit. It is much, much harder to not stress eat if you've been doing that for years and years and years and years. So examples that really help people like, okay, I get it now. My follow-up question, which I'm hoping I remember. Yes, you obviously, we acknowledge that you are much more flexible with your workouts now than you used to be. I had a thought, and you don't have to agree. Do you think how much of that is also the fact that you have a lot more going on in your life now in a good way than you did before?
I actually think that is a great point.
Yeah.
And I remember, I don't know if you'll remember this conversation, when we first started dating and you saw how much I exercised. Part of it for me was I had moved to California. Well, I hadn't moved to California, but I was in California.
Yeah.
I didn't have any friends. I wasn't allowed to work. I didn't have a visa.
Right.
I had just left England where I was personal training people face to face. My entire career was personal training people face to face. So when I left England, I had no clients. And because I didn't have a visa in California, I literally wasn't allowed to work. It would have been illegal for me to have earned money in America while I was visiting for up to 90 days at a time. And because I enjoyed the gym, I would often find that when you were working, for example, I'm like, oh, I'll just go back to the gym. I could do weights in the morning. I could do cardio in the evening or whatever it was. It wasn't cardio. You know, I hate cardio, but you know what I mean. And
you would bike occasionally.
I would bike occasionally.
You weren't running at the time though.
I was not running at the time. And part of it was feeling, I think I was unfulfilled in some ways. And this isn't me projecting this on other people who might feel like they're exercising a lot. For me personally, it was something that I enjoyed, and I was staying in a new country where I didn't have friends, I didn't have family, I wasn't allowed to work. And it was, I wouldn't say a way to pass the time, but it certainly was something. For me, exercise, I think part of the reason I have gone to unhealthy extremes with exercise is because there's a level of control that I enjoy, and I enjoy seeing myself progress with things. So for example, if work has been terrible, it often isn't terrible, but let's say work has been terrible, or I haven't seen friends recently or whatever. If my life is unfulfilled in some ways, but I can go to the gym and I'm like, oh, I've got an extra rep on my bench press.
Right.
I leave the gym thinking, that was a great workout.
Yeah, you feel a sense of accomplishment. Yeah.
And I like that the gym for me was always a sense of accomplishment.
Yeah.
I always liked seeing myself getting stronger or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I think at times in my life when I didn't have much going on, the gym was always something that I enjoyed doing.
Yeah.
And it often filled more of a gap than it should have.
Yeah.
And to circle back, I said to you, I would love to get to the point where I'm so pleased with my career and enjoying work so much
in your life
that I would skip workouts.
Yeah. And you actually have here and there.
Especially with like book writing. It was much more common for me, even if I didn't skip workouts, it was much more common for me to get up in the morning and rather than thinking about what I was going to do for the gym in a couple of hours, I would get straight on my laptop, work solidly until my brain turned to mush. Then when I couldn't write anymore with it being high quality, that was when I would work out.
Yeah.
But it wasn't my highest priority anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. And now you've got to the point now where I would say most days of the week you work out one time.
Always. I never do twice a day training, and all of my workouts are shorter than they were before. I will happily work out for 30 to 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Whereas before, workouts wouldn't be less than an hour.
Great progress, babe.
Oh, thanks,
I think
Angel.
this is acknowledging a struggle coming from the different opposite side of the spectrum compared to, I would say, what most people struggle with, which is exercising consistently in the first place, where you were so overly rigid and probably went overboard with doing a lot more exercise than you needed to for your own well-being. And now you've managed to scale back. So that's a different kind of win.
Agreed.
Yeah. I'm going to pivot. It's still relevant. We're going to talk about men's mental health or mental health in general. Now, the reason why I bring it up is that health and fitness are intrinsically linked together. And you have been someone who, for a long time, has been quite open about mental health. Now, I distinctly remember a number of years ago, before we started dating in like 2018, 2019, World Mental Health Day, you posted a photo of yourself with a needle, right? Injecting yourself in the leg with medication for your Crohn's disease. Why is that so important for you to talk about? And I want to know more about what's made you so comfortable talking about your own mental health struggles.
This is going to be a rewind that almost anyone who's listening to this won't have stuck around for. If anyone has followed me for long enough that they remember this, I would be super impressed. So that was October, if I remember correctly, October 2019. And I, as you said, I was injecting myself with a drug called Imraldi or adalimumab, which is a biologic for Crohn's disease. And it was on World Mental Health Day. If I rewind like 5 months prior to that, I had spoken to a consultant. I hadn't been in the doctors or hospital for however long. And they basically said to me, I had a random knee swelling one day and I went to the doctor and they were like, I can't help notice that on your chart, you haven't visited us for years, but you have Crohn's disease and you're supposed to get checked regularly and have regular colonoscopies. We can see the time course of your disease, etc. And whilst I was talking to him, we ended up doing a colonoscopy and my Crohn's disease was worse than I thought it was.
Okay.
I put it to the back of my mind. I thought I was doing okay in life. Like I was never 100% healthy, but like I was doing all right, I thought. And then he did a colonoscopy and he said, you're not as healthy as you think you are. If you keep going down this road, you will probably need surgery at some point. You have two strictures, which are like narrowings. And it's possible if these keep going, we'll have to cut them out. And I talked about it on my social media. Someone just randomly one day on an Instagram Q&A was like, how are you? And I was like, oh, that's cute. And I was like, oh, I've been better because this happened. And like, I'm a bit worried that I might need surgery. And I'm a bit worried that I'm being prescribed this drug that I've been reluctant to take because there's such a long list of side effects, or possible side effects, I should say. And I got like a bit emotional. And what almost everyone...
And it was a video response.
It was just stories. What almost, in fact, almost no one will know this, but I used to be the opposite of how I am now, to the point that I refused to tell people anything about me. I had such a professional standard. I don't know if you even know this.
I used to be like that too, so I get it.
I had such a professional standard that I wouldn't swear in front of clients. Correct. I wouldn't swear in front of clients. I wouldn't tell them any personal details about myself.
Yep.
In personal training, there's a very blurry line between I'm your personal trainer and I'm your friend. And a lot of personal trainers, I think, abuse that line. And I didn't like telling people about myself. So, for example, if a client was making small talk and they're like, I don't know anything about you, like, are you dating someone? To me, I'm like, it's not really relevant. Like, you don't need to know that about me. If I'm doing a good job and I'm like, this is about you, it's not supposed to be about me. And I know they're just trying to build rapport more often than not. But to me, it was like, we don't need to be friends. I'm
a professional. Right. This is a hard line.
So I was nice. I was kind, but I would try and deviate. So, for example, I remember a client saying to me once, like, I know nothing about you. Like, are you dating someone? I don't even know if you're straight or gay. And I just dodged the question. Not like...
Look over there.
It wasn't... I can't even remember what it was. I think I just said something like, oh, I don't talk about myself much. Anyway, so how have you been? Like, that type of thing. Yeah. And I remember them asking me again a little bit later, like, kind of fishing.
You're actually really good at dodging questions you don't want to answer, where you say something back, but you don't answer the question.
And I thought, especially when I was a young personal trainer, because there were times where, when I say times, there was a time when a client told me they loved me. Not like, I fancy you, I'm into you.
Like, I love you as my trainer.
No, I love you. I am in love with you.
Oh.
And it was...
What's their name?
It was out of the blue.
Yeah.
I trained with her 2 or 3 times a week. I was always professional, but she wanted a lot of help. She would often message me like, oh, can you help with this? I've forgotten this exercise, whatever. And then one day when she was drunk and it was like 4 a.m,
oh dear,
I had like a letter in a text, like one of those essays.
Yeah.
And I did what I personally think all good personal trainers should do. And I stopped training her. And for me, because it's so easy to abuse those lines, especially when you're a young guy training a lot of young women.
You get carried away.
A lot of personal trainers are a little bit too flirty. They stretch clients in a way where you're like, you don't really need to be pressing yourself up against them like that. And you see it online. Yes. You see a lot of male personal trainers especially.
Oh, yeah.
Who are a little bit too handsy with their female clients, in my humble opinion. So I always used to be very, very separate. I would try and keep my personal life separate.
You know what that made me think of is Ross from Friends massaging. He uses like wooden spoons to massage because he doesn't want to touch him with his hands.
When you said, you know what that made me think of, I thought you were going to name drop, and I was like, this is dangerous territory.
People who know Friends will know this scene.
Is this wooden spoons with a massage? Yeah,
I watched it recently, so it came to mind.
And so I kept my professional life, my personal life very separate. So when I said this on social media, which was, if I remember correctly, June 2019.
Okay.
At this point, I have been on social media for 10 years, almost to the month.
Yeah, and I
have been a personal trainer for 13 years. I hadn't told anyone anything about me, online especially. that was the first time I had told them anything from like a place of vulnerability. And I remember I didn't cry, but I remember being emotional and my eyes were kind of slightly watery. And the number of replies to my story blew me away because it showed how many people cared. And I was like, that's really sweet. Like, I'm a bit worried about this. I have shown emotion, which, especially for guys, I think is a vulnerable thing that a lot of people don't do. And I was like, it's really sweet that so many people have sent me nice messages. So then, fast forward a few months, World Mental Health Day, I was like, I've kind of recently, it wasn't like a breakdown, but I kind of recently had a mini breakdown on my Instagram stories, and I had so many nice messages. I just felt like I should post about it. So I posted about World Mental Health Day and how important mental health is to me. And I said something that changed the trajectory of how I talk on social media. I said I've been in some dark times.
Yeah.
And it's very important that I had people that I could speak to, because without those people, I'm not sure if I would still be here, maybe. I don't know if that's overstating it, but you know what I'm getting at. And I said, bear in mind that I have probably at this point less than 10%, maybe less than 5% of the social media following I have now. It was normal to get a handful of comments on a post. It's not normal to get videos with 1 million views or whatever. And I said, if you're struggling and you need to reach out to someone, you can reach out to me.
I remember that. Yeah.
And that night, I had so many messages from people that I made a vow to myself that I wouldn't go to sleep until I replied to every single one. Because if you have not even dozens, it was hundreds of people. I've never had that many messages in my social media career ever, not even close. If you have dozens or hundreds of people who are messaging you saying that they are worried, that they are contemplating suicide, or they're at risk of suicide, the idea that I could leave one person in my inbox after I've said, if you need help, I will speak to me.
Yeah.
Because I prefer you have me than have no one. If you have no one, message me. The idea that I know there's someone out there who's been brave enough to message a stranger saying, I'm really struggling at the moment, and I haven't taken 30 seconds.
And they're waiting on you to respond.
Right.
Yeah.
And I replied to every single person, and I stayed up. It was hours and hours and hours. I was going through my various inboxes, and it was a very humbling experience because it shows how much some people are struggling, which I think is super important to know. It shows how much human connection can be under social media, which is often, social media often feels more connected than you really are. It's like a pseudo connection with people where you have these parasocial relationships where you follow people, but if you bumped into them in real life, you wouldn't know what to say. Do you know what I mean? And there was such a deep human connection from people who are messaging me because they want help, and me messaging back because I respect how vulnerable it was.
Yeah.
And since then, it made me think, you're doing a good thing. If you can message 10 people who are potentially, possibly, even vaguely thinking about suicide, and sending them love or best wishes. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not giving them profound advice. I was just saying, thank you for messaging me, that type of thing. It seemed more important than any fitness advice I could ever give. Like, imagine me going and talking about calories after that, or talking about protein targets.
It sounds so trivial in comparison.
And that was the turning point for me to talk about mental health at least semi-regularly.
Yeah.
I'm not a professional. I'm not an expert. I don't talk about it from that place, but I try and talk about things that people would benefit from connecting on, I think.
Yeah. You're a very caring guy, and I think that really shows across everything you do. And this actually reminds me, you're a personal trainer who's very interested in fitness, who struggled with your mental health. Exercise can have therapeutic tendencies, but it is not but it is not a replacement for therapy.
100% agreed.
And I do think that there are people who, like, while obviously you can exercise to relieve your stress, to boost your mood, to increase your confidence and whatever, there are still cases when you are an avid exerciser and you have major mental health struggles. And I think that's an important reminder to spread.
I had to reach out to a therapist because I was worried, and a couple of other people close to me were worried that I didn't want to be on this planet anymore. And the six pack wasn't saving me from that.
Right.
I had a six pack for years at that point.
And so, yes. How is your mental health now?
I think it's the best that it has probably been in my entire adult life. I think that overall, I'm the happiest that I've ever been, full stop, to the point that it often makes me kind of sad to think back before we had met, how different my life was. And part of that is our relationship, obviously. Part of that is living somewhere I enjoy. California.
Good weather, sun.
California is very sunny. And if you're someone that lives in a climate that is very cold and miserable, and you feel yourself feeling more depressed in winter months, the privilege that I have had to come and live somewhere where it's sunny most of the time, it does change my mood.
Difference.
When I go back to England, I do feel less energetic and a little bit less happy.
I feel that way too.
I am at a better point in my career. I had a lot more success with my first book and then second book than I ever anticipated. My health is better than it was. So there are many like pillars to this. It isn't just I love you to bits and you have transformed everything about me. Whilst that is true to a degree, there are other things and other variables that have also stacked in my favor, because I could love you to bits, but if my health was as bad as it was 10 years ago, I would still be struggling.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me, I'm in a really good place. I don't know if I'm ever in as good a place as someone who is very happy all the time. I don't know if I would ever describe myself as someone who's very happy all the time. I'm not sure that's my personality, but I feel like I'm doing all right.
But regardless, it's nice to hear that you're doing so much better.
Thank you.
Hard turn. I once told you I thought you were a fuckboy.
Correct.
Was this a facade? Was I wrong?
The context on this, right?
Oh, yes.
The context on this. Okay. You were wrong. You were very wrong. And you realized you were very wrong after we started talking very quickly.
Should I talk about the context that gave me that impression?
I think I can give the context.
Okay.
So if you have listened to this far and you're not just seeing this on social media like a short snippet, I went through a period where I posted more of my social life. Part of that is
drinking.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it was actually just drinking. But I think other people, when they see drinking, they often infer other things. Like if a guy is very drunk, they might think, are there drugs involved? He's in Ibiza a lot. Are there women involved?
You're at a club. Yeah.
Yeah. And like all of those stereotypical connotations, I think, are accurate in a lot of cases. They weren't accurate for me.
Yeah.
Now, because I never talked about my social life, rewind to that guy that said to me, I want to look like you, but I also want to drink alcohol.
Yeah.
I realized that I was portraying this too strict image.
I see.
And I thought it's actually nice to show a little bit of realism.
Yeah.
So I went through a period where if I went out and I drank alcohol, I would put it on my stories.
Yeah.
And it didn't happen very often, but it was a highlight reel of my life. So if I went to Ibiza with a couple of my mates and we're in a beach club and we're having cocktails, I would post the cocktails, for example. And it was like the pendulum of almost like the pendulum of overreaction. I have never drank alcohol in my life. Sorry, I'll clarify that. I went through long periods of time where I never touched alcohol.
Yeah.
Then I went on one of my best mates' stag do or like bachelor parties. And I remember before I went, I was like nervous about going. Everyone's drinking alcohol. I don't drink. I'm worried about missing the gym for a week. I'm worried about all of the fast food that's probably on stag do's, all of that stuff. And part of that's like Crohn's disease related. But I remember going there and having the best week, one of the best weeks of my life. And I remember thinking, I'm too strict. I was worried about going on holiday. How absurd is that?
Yeah.
And because of that, I was like, I don't think I'm portraying a very healthy image to people. I think I'm going above and beyond by being too strict. So on social media, I would occasionally post stories of me drinking. stories of socializing, stories
trying
of
to
holidays.
show that you're not
right.
super hardcore. Yeah.
And this isn't like every week.
You're right.
I would go to Ibiza a couple of times a year, but it meant that there were occasional photos of me where I was standing there holding a bottle of champagne or whatever. And that was like the 0.1% of my life, because I might drink champagne twice a year.
Yeah.
And that is only when someone else is buying it and putting it in my glass because I didn't even really like it. But I do understand that on social media, if you only see those clips, you're like, this guy's drinking a lot, he's partying a lot. And whilst it was true that I would occasionally go and drink, I think the other things that you would assume based on that personality were not correct for me.
Yeah. It's actually kind of funny to think back at my impression of you at the time, which, by the way, I did not care, because that was back before I had even met you, wasn't romantically interested in you. So I was like, oh, that's my impression of he's a fuckboy. It's fine, moving on. And then obviously I get to know you, and you're basically the opposite in so many ways.
I have like, it's gonna sound slightly like TMI, I think. I don't it's gonna seem a bit left field, but like, if you think this guy drinks a lot, he parties a lot, he hooks up with girls a lot, any of those stereotypes, in my entire adult life, I have never been the type of person to message two girls at once, ever. Not even like when I'm single and I'm looking to hook up with people. I've never gone through that thing. I have always been someone that likes being in a relationship and likes being monogamous. And that's just how my brain works. So no, I was the opposite of a fuckboy, but I was like, even some of my friends, when they heard I went to Ibiza a lot and I went to Marbella a lot,
right.
I think they assumed that I also did drugs, for example.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'd never touched them.
No, you like a mojito.
I was like, I smoked weed for a brief period of time when I was 16. And I have never touched any drugs apart from that. And I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I'm glad that I never opened those floodgates, I think.
Yeah, I think that's fair. My other initial impression of you is that when I first met you, it was in Barcelona at IFS, International Fitness Summit, right? In 2019.
Yeah.
And one of my first interactions with you was by the pool. You were shirtless in a bathing suit. And of course, I'm like...
When you say bathing suit, isn't that what you normally say for
swim
women?
Trunks.
Yeah.
I feel like it's for both.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, your swim
suit
trunks.
Was like women's
so anyway, you had
thing.
like a freaking like 20 pack situation. You're jacked, you're very lean. And I remember thinking, he must be extremely rigid. He must be very, very hardcore with his fitness. But how much of that was true at that point, and how much of that is maintenance for you?
I think there are two ways to talk about this, and I actually talk about them both at separate times. So I think I am genetically more predisposed to staying lean.
Yeah.
Like you actually said to me, and I remember you saying this months, years after it happened, and I didn't even realize it. But you said when we first met, you had glute striations. And I remember being like, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I don't
and we got your
look
body fat, I think DEXA scan, or no, we got calipers. You were at like 5% body fat, which I think was actually quite accurate.
It was calipers in body and ultrasound at the University of Tampa,
USF,
Florida.
With
USF,
Bill
sorry.
Campbell. And he actually said, I've never had anyone come in this lean ever.
Yeah. So,
and you weren't even trying to prep
the funny
for a
thing about
bodybuilding
this
show
is
or
he
anything.
actually said to me when we were sitting having a chat, he said, I think you're the leanest person that we would ever do a body fat measurement on. I'm sitting there in a t-shirt. I'm not even in a sleeveless.
Yeah,
I
but
don't
he
think.
could tell. Yeah.
And I remember thinking, having this weird moment where I'm like, how lean am I that someone is looking at my face and my forearms and they're like...
If you look back at photos though, you are noticeably much leaner at the time.
So yeah, we did my body fat, and there's obviously a degree of inaccuracy there. But at the time, it was a smidge under 6%.
Yeah.
And you said to me afterwards, you literally had glute striations when we first met, and
you weren't even flexing your glutes. You were relaxed. Yeah.
So I have definitely been through periods of being ultra strict with lots of things, training for long periods of time, diet.
Yeah.
Yes, but part of that is it is just more. It is easier for me than it is most people. I can comfortably sit at around 10% body fat without feeling like I'm dieting. I'm just living my life. And yes, I am keeping a workout regimen. I'm not saying that I'm completely sedentary.
Yeah.
It's just my own personal food preferences, personal food preferences around how I feel with Crohn's disease. Oh, there's also a degree of strictness there. Like I remember saying on a podcast years ago, I can't go out and have pizza and beers with my mates anymore because I would probably shit my pants.
Yeah.
And that's a slight exaggeration because it's like putting a comedic spin on it. But
it would not be a good time.
It would not be a good time. I don't want to go out for beers and then spend the next day on the toilet, for example. So because of that, I am more strict with my food than most people tend to be. But it's become so habitual for me that it's not hard work. It's easy for me to wake up in the morning and have oatmeal.
Yeah.
Which to most people is a far healthier breakfast or more nutritious breakfast than most people are eating, than it is to have chocolate cereal or a muffin or whatever.
So I think there's two components to this. One is you're genetically, which I think some people will be very glad to hear you acknowledge this. Genetically, you are more predisposed to staying on the leaner side.
Mm-hmm.
It'd actually be
for many reasons.
Very difficult for you to gain a significant level of body fat.
Like even when we were first together, I remember you saying that you noticed that I often wouldn't eat that much.
Yeah.
You don't tend to comment on what people eat, but like if you were arranging lunch and I'm like, oh, I'm not really hungry.
Yeah.
After a while, you were like,
which also taps into genetics of appetite and hunger, which we can talk more about later.
That's what
you
I was
don't really have
saying.
A huge,
like, I've gone through years of my life where I could get up, work,
not think about food,
not have breakfast.
Yeah.
And sometimes even when I'm busy with work, would skip lunch.
And a lot of people will be like, I can't relate to that at all because they're so hungry.
Yeah.
But that's not a matter of willpower, which is an important distinction. Second one is that you've built up such strong dietary habits.
That they are second nature.
Correct. Yeah. So I think it's really important to acknowledge those things. I think it would be remiss at this point not to talk about running at least a little bit, because you're someone who used to be very vocal about how much you hated running.
I fucking hated running.
But you did start running, I want to say around 20 months ago.
I can't remember.
And now, regardless, it's been almost 2 years. Now you are very consistent. You actually run more than you lift now. People don't know this. And you're getting quite fast.
Okay.
You ran a 5K in under 20 minutes recently. How do you account for this huge change in your life?
I started running exclusively because I know we've talked about this briefly. I won't go over it too much.
Yeah.
I started running exclusively because you said, it'd be so cute to run with you one day.
Yeah.
But you said that to me because you knew I hated running. It wasn't a realistic thing.
Or something I thought would be cute. Yeah, it'd be nice for us to do together.
You weren't saying that because you thought it would happen. It was like, oh, babe, wouldn't it be cute if we ran together one day? And I was like, it'd be cute. And I remember thinking about it and I was like, no, it would be cute. And the more I thought about it, the more that it bugged me that I couldn't. So I've had so many like joint issues and injury niggles and things that I think a lot of it is Crohn's disease related, that I just didn't enjoy running. I didn't enjoy the feeling of running. I didn't feel like it was even good for me because I would get joint pain and stiffness and stuff. And I just had avoided it for so long that if you said to me, go for a 1 mile run, I would be like, I'm not sure I can do that. And because you had planted the seed in my head, like most things, I tend to get obsessive about things very quickly.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, it would be cute to run with you. And it's a shame that I couldn't run or feeling like I couldn't run. So I started doing it secretly. And I went for a run in the neighborhood, like, I think 8 p.m. It was 3 minutes long just to see what it was like.
Yeah.
And I did it knowing that you wouldn't know I was gone. I can't remember if you were still doing like your PhD study or whatever. So I just did this quick run and I'm like, it was really difficult. But it gave me a foundation and I worked on it. And there was just something that I enjoyed. One, about the idea that I was going to surprise you was all the motivation that I needed. Nothing else mattered. It wasn't like, do I enjoy this or not? I didn't care. It was the idea that on that morning 1 year ago, nearly to the day, you were going to get ready for your 5K and then realize that I was coming with you. And I knew how much of a shock it would be because I knew how much you knew how much I hated running.
Yeah.
Everyone close to me knew that I hated running and I hated most forms of cardio. So that was like the catalyst. But
that was a really funny moment, real quick, because
you looked at my bib.
You said, look at my bib. And I was like, oh, haha, you're wearing my bib.
You said, I'm glad you did that because I would have forgot.
So I thought you were wearing my bib. And I was like, haha. And of course, I hadn't looked at it carefully enough to see that your name was on there.
Yeah.
And what did you say? You're like, look carefully or something. Look closer.
I was looking and I said, read it. And you went, what? And then one of our very good friends, Dr. Mike, he even messaged me afterwards and said, how does it make you feel that your very, very sweet gesture was superseded by how adorable so his reaction was? And I was like, I feel like I'm fine with that. Because your reaction was the thing I cared about. If I thought that you were going to be like, oh, that's cute, babe. Oh, well done.
You're like, that's not worth all the effort.
So at the risk of like going off too much of a tangent, you are not a materialistic person.
No, I'm not.
If people have acts of service,
oh yes,
you are not someone who cares about receiving gifts.
That's like bottom of my
so like
love
for
language,
example, I remember when we first started dating, I think I bought you flowers on anniversary or Valentine's Day or whatever, and you were grateful. I knew you were grateful, but you weren't as grateful as you could have been if I had given you a different gift. So I realized very early,
done something for me. Yeah,
I realized very early on how much it touched you when people did nice things for you,
or showed effort of any kind.
It's effort. Yeah. When you have seen that people have made effort for you, I have seen your heart melt. And because of that, that was part of the reason that I shifted the way I showed love.
Yeah.
Because for me, anniversary, Valentine's Day, those are, you buy your partner.
This is a man who pays attention.
These are the days that if you're going to buy your partner flowers, it happens on those days. And that's how I started our relationship. And I just feel like I'm missing the mark. It's not landing with you as much as I thought it would land.
Yeah.
And there were other things that I did that would land better than I realized. So, for example, the wedding speech.
Yep.
That was a chance for me. I remember joking with you saying, I don't have to do a speech because in America, grooms don't tend to give speeches. But this is my golden opportunity to tell people how much I love you.
Yeah.
And I used to joke and say...
Yeah, you would say, I can't wait to tell everyone how much I love you.
Yeah, we would lie in bed and I was like, I can't wait to tell everyone how much I love you. And you would laugh. But I remember thinking, no, it's true. Like, this is my shot to give my wife this amazing speech. And I don't have to do it. It's not custom in America. But it would be so remiss of me to have this opportunity to talk about my wife to a room full of people.
Yeah.
So when that ended up going like super mega viral, it was like such a happy moment for me because I said, I can't wait to tell everyone how much I love you.
Yeah.
And it became like,
now everyone knows.
It was seen by more people than there are in America. It was seen by hundreds of millions of people. And I was like, I did say I'll tell everyone how much I love you. So I
Yeah.
But anyway, the point is, it was that I knew how surprised you would be when you realized, not that I was just joining you, but I had spent months leading up to this. Because I was going from couch to 5K, literally.
Yeah. Well done on circling back, because in my head I was like, I've already forgotten why we're talking about this.
I'm used to it in our relationship. It's
I was
fine.
like, oh dear.
It's fine.
I've lost the plot. Yeah.
I was literally going from couch to 5K. I wasn't doing that plan, but that is what I was doing in effect. I was like, I'm not going to tell you I'm running. I'm going to surprise you on the 5K. But for someone who has only just started running for the first time in their entire adult life, and they've hated running, and they are the kind of person who feels like running would injure them.
Yeah.
Joining you in a 5K is one thing, but not embarrassing yourself is another. So it wasn't just like, I want to join. I was like, I need to work hard enough that ideally I don't embarrass myself. I don't vomit. I don't pull a hamstring. I don't have to keel over on the finish line, etc. And you were so surprised when I did the 5K that it was like 3 months later and you were like, well, I've got this half marathon. And I literally remember thinking...
Mesa half?
Yeah, I was like, I don't think I can do it. I literally don't think I can do it. But I'm still going to train for it because I know that you think I'm tapped out. You know I don't like long distance running. You know how much I hate long distance running. In fact, I've always been someone that enjoys sprinting. Hard and fast, insert the joke. Hard and fast is good. Long and slow, my brain doesn't enjoy it. I will happily sprint when I was a kid. I would never long distance run. So the idea that I could then train for a half marathon, I was like, I'm just going to do it just in case I think I can join in, just to surprise you again.
Yeah.
I don't think I've got it in the tank, but it would be really silly of me not to try.
Yeah.
So that escalated and that escalated. But
yeah.
To go back to your original question, that was the catalyst. But I enjoy the fact that I have come really far at something that I hated.
Yes.
That to me it's not the progression. Like I could have picked a new exercise in the gym that I haven't done for a while and been like, oh, I haven't done this rare form of bicep curl.
Right.
And I could have watched myself progress on that rare form of bicep curl. It was the fact that I fucking detested running. And today I said, hey, can we record the podcast a little bit later? Because I want to do my run.
Yeah.
To me, that is the reason that I'm
like I want to
myself.
do my run.
Yeah.
So would you say that you actually enjoy running now? Or you look forward to it? How do you feel while you're running? Are you like, I can't wait to be this?
Enjoy is a strong word. Enjoy is a strong word.
Yeah.
Because if I had 30 minutes and you put me in a gym, I would much prefer to lift weights. I would much prefer to do a heavy bench press or a heavy pull-up or heavy deadlift or whatever than go for a 30-minute run. But there is something extra rewarding about doing something that I hated. So although I wouldn't say that I enjoy it, I have enjoyed how much I feel like I've grown. That sounds maybe a bit wanky. That's not why
I get it.
But it's more like I neglected cardio for so many years of my life, even though I knew it was good for my health. I just didn't like doing it. Yeah. And the fact that I've now got into it where I went and did a 5K on my own without you, there's something where I'm like, if I'm going to be proud of something, I've come a long way for that. So yeah.
I really like that. And I think it's refreshing for people to hear about this. And I've actually gotten messages about you in this regard, and where they say it's very encouraging to know that this was something that you hated and now you are very consistent at it.
So there's like an extra layer of that as well. So when we were in London for my book launch event at the Barbican Theatre, someone asked me about running because I had only done the 5K like a couple of months before that event. And I said, after doing something that was like a romantic gesture for you, which was my first and foremost highest priority, I did like that once I put it on social media, people said it's so inspiring to see you going from, I describe it as shit to slightly less shit. But there were people who said this is more inspiring watching you try something new and be vulnerable with your audience than it is just posting about the thing that you're good at. And I was like, well, given I'm a fitness page, really, I should be, isn't it better for me to show a journey of going from zero, not zero to hero, I'm definitely not hero, but going from 0 to 10, 20, 30, whatever percent, versus I'm a guy that loves lifting weights. Here I am still lifting weights. Because most people...
you've been doing that forever. Yeah.
Like, you can watch a pro marathon runner running another amazing marathon. That's amazing. But does it motivate you where you are now compared to seeing your friend suddenly...
whose starting point is closer to your current position.
So I liked that I was posting on something on social media that probably would motivate more people to start doing something than my regular fitness content. Like I can post countless videos of me bench pressing. I don't think anyone watches it being like, I'm suddenly going to bench press now.
Yeah.
But me talking about the fact I sucked and I hated it, which a lot of people resonate with, to, oh, I'm actually getting a little bit better. I think that was probably more motivational. And I liked that. I think that was I feel like I was setting a better fitness example posting that kind of content than any of my other workout videos I ever put on my stories. So I felt good. I felt good doing that.
The irony of all of this now is that even though your initial motivation to run was to run with me, now we can't really run together because I'm over halfway pregnant and I'm getting slower and slower. So it's not even worth having you come with me because you'd be basically doing like a speed walk to get.
And also, when you say, do you like running? I still don't run outside.
No, you do. almost all your runs are on our treadmill.
I feel like most people who love running.
Whereas I love running outside. I still do it now. Yeah.
I go on the treadmill because it's faster. We have a treadmill in our garage.
Convenient, yeah.
It's convenient. If I have 40 minutes before I need to leave the house, I could still do a 30-minute run and have time for a quick shower.
And you can run in your underwear.
And I can run in my underwear when it's
with all
hot
your drinks and everything. You've got a screen. You can watch your everything.
But if I run outside, people see me. I feel a bit embarrassed because I still feel like my running technique isn't great. I feel more self-conscious. If I ever feel like I might shit my pants, which does happen when you're running, especially with me.
It's a thing, yeah.
I have been a couple of miles away from home and been like, oh my God, I need the toilet.
Yeah,
and
that's not a good feeling.
I don't really want to shit in a hedge. And if that happens when I'm on the treadmill, I can walk.
Very easy.
Right. So yeah, I don't think I can say I love running when I still avoid running outside, but
still logging in a lot of miles.
Yeah.
Next question for you. You're a male feminist or someone who champions women. Why is this so important to you?
That's a great question. It's a great question.
Because we know not all men are like this.
Yeah, that's putting it mildly.
Yeah.
Okay. When we first started dating, or let's say before we first started dating.
Okay.
Who do you think I said the most important person in my life is?
Your mom.
Correct. And I have always said, no shade at anyone else in my family or my friends who are like, what the fuck, why didn't you mention me? I have always said, my mum is the best person in the world prior to us being together. Obviously, that's you now. And obviously that's an exaggeration.
It's working.
Yeah.
It's the sprinkles, the love sprinkles are working.
Obviously it's an exaggeration. I don't think my mum is the best person in the world. I'm sure there are other amazing people out there who would like to fight for the title. I'm not in a position where I can declare that person. But the point is, in my life, she has been the best person. And other people in our family, if you ask my brother, you can only save one member of the family. I would be stunned if he picked me over my mum. Like, I would deserve to die. Pick mum. Like, I think my sister would do the same. If you said, look, you can only pick one.
He'd be like, don't even finish the question.
That train track.
Mom, next.
Right. That train track like riddle thing where you're like, oh, there's 5 people there or one person there. Like, what would you do? If it was like me and mum, I would expect my sister to kill me. I would expect my brother to kill me.
Choose your mum over you. Yeah.
Mum she is amazing. Oh. And part of the reason that I think she is amazing is because I have seen what she does behind the scenes for people. And I think it's testament to someone's character when you see how they act when they're not doing something for something in return. She is the kind of person who, when I was younger, she would let people live at her house for months rent-free because they were going through a bad period in their life. I have known people who literally lived with us for a while because they were going through a rough period. And the fact that she would say, you can come and stay here. I'm not going to charge you rent. Nothing like that. It was just, I will put a roof over your head. And she was the kind of person who I don't think it's always male, female. I don't want to imply that it's always one-sided because whenever I talk about championing women, some men get really upset at me like I'm shitting on men. I'm not doing that. I'm clear. I'm a guy. Of course, I'm not shitting on men. But I think there is a very common stereotype, a common scenario where there is a mother at home keeping the family together who is often not thanked for the chores they are doing. So when I was growing up, I got to a certain point in my life, I think when I'd moved out, which was far too old. I should have gone when I was younger, but I was ill and whatever. And I kind of realized how much mum had been doing for me all these years and I'd never thought about it. Like, I could still be in my 20s and she had been doing all my laundry. She was always doing the food shopping. She was always doing the cooking. She was always doing the tidying up. She was keeping the family afloat in ways that people don't get thanked for often. It's very easy to thank someone that does one nice thing for you, but it's all the unseen things in a house that often don't get the recognition they deserve. And I got to a certain point in my life that I won't talk about on this podcast, that I remember having a moment of reflection and realizing that she had done so much for me. And you don't thank your parents when you're a kid. You don't think of all the amazing things they do. But
you expect it. Yeah.
After I had been ill and she had looked after me for so long, that I knew that she had gone above and beyond what most people ever need from a parent. Like them having to nurse you for 6 months at a time and do everything for you, having to escort you to the toilet because you can't walk on your own.
Yeah.
I remember being so grateful for how much she did for me. And it kind of made me realize how much she'd always done for me. And I'd never really thought about it because I was a teenager and young and naive and stuff. And I have known other women, especially, of course, men as well, but I don't think they always are appreciated as much as they should be. And that makes me sad. So
what I'm getting from all of this is that we have your mom largely to thank for the way that you are now.
Yes, I think so. And also, I grew up, my brother is 10 years older than me. My sister's 6 years older than me. So my brother had kind of fled the nest before my years when I could make more adult choices. And I think because I'd spent more time around my sister, I think for a long period of my life, the two people that I was closest with in the house, the majority of my time were my mum and my sister. So, you know, when you see people, like little things like when you see people going through emotional breakups and stuff, and you learn things about people. And the two most influential people in my life in terms of the number of hours that I spent with them and how close I felt with them were my mum and my sister. So, yeah.
I love that. I'm going to shift gears.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to bring up some things you've said on social media in recent years that have gained a lot of traction, whether it's a lot of people agreeing with you or they're controversial. Okay, first one.
If they gain traction, I feel like they're all controversial.
Yeah. First one. Weight loss is not easy for everyone.
Correct. Next, move on.
Elaborate on this a little bit.
Okay. Weight loss. Okay. Here's how I'm going to approach this question. Weight loss is easy because all you need to do is eat fewer calories.
It's simple. Yeah. It's straightforward.
Right. That's very simple.
In that regard, yeah.
If it was that simple to put into practice, we wouldn't see such high failure rates. I'm putting that in quotation, air quotes for anyone listening, failure rates in the long term. And I think a lot of people, especially in the fitness community, like take myself, for example, I'm hovering, let's say 10, 12% body fat for most of my adult life. And then I would diet down to 8, 7, 6% body fat for photo shoots. That's easy. I can do that whenever I want. As soon as I want to lose a few kilograms of body fat, I go on a diet, I have achieved it.
Easy for you.
So it's very easy for me. But there's a difference there because when I was doing that, I wasn't having to hold that for long periods of time. I wasn't losing 10 kilos and then holding that weight loss for the rest of my life. And I remember having a conversation with my sister. This was actually a video that went surprisingly viral. I had a conversation with my sister. My sister is, the fanciest term I could put it would be a weight discordant sibling, which basically means my body fat was much lower than hers tended to be. And she gave me permission to talk about this when I did the video, so I assume she'll give me permission now. She is someone who, by her own admission, for long periods of her adult life has struggled with her weight, whereas I was not. And I was dieting for like a photo shoot one day, and we are talking, I'm probably 8% body fat at this point. I'm very lean. And I was getting to that hard point of photo shoot prep or contest prep dieting that a lot of bodybuilders know, where this is where it gets hard. This is where food noise is increasing. This is where people start eating shit like, I wasn't doing this, but bodybuilders have often tricks like, oh, I eat sugar-free jelly for dessert because it's calorie-free. Like people have these little like dieting hacks where when shit gets hard, those are the things they resort to. And a lot of bodybuilders will openly admit that contest prep sucks. That's when they feel their worst for that period of time. And my sister said to me one day, we're sitting at the kitchen table, and she was like, how are you feeling? Because she knew I was dieting and I was whatever. And I was like, it's really hard. I'm thinking about food all the time. So I was so hungry. This isn't regular 6-pack. This is a level of striations that most humans will never see. I'm so hungry that when I finished eating, I would feel myself fidgeting because I know that I haven't eaten enough.
And you're still hungry.
I was so hungry that I was thinking about food all the time.
Relatable. Yeah.
If I had eaten a meal, I'm still thinking, I need to eat more food. I'm hungry. I was having to fight hunger signals.
Yes.
It was so difficult. But that's the difference between dieting to 6% body fat and dieting to 10% body fat for a lot of people.
Sure.
And it was the hardest thing at the time I've ever done in my fitness career, but I enjoyed it in a kind of sick, twisted way. And I remember saying, I'm thinking about food all the time. I'm never satisfied. It feels like my stomach is a bottomless pit.
Yeah.
And she looked at me, and this wasn't like a gotcha moment. She wasn't trying to one-up.
Yeah.
She said, you've just described how I feel every day of my life. And I was stunned. And I think there's this misconception, especially in the fitness world, that I find dieting easy. Therefore, everyone else should find dieting easy.
And you're weak-willed because you can't do what I do.
Right. And one of the things that I don't think most people realize is, whilst it is true that if you consume less energy than you burn, you will lose weight. Very few people argue against that nowadays. That doesn't mean that it is easy for everyone. There are a lot of people, and if you have worked with a diverse range of clients like I have, you will find it from talking to people who find it really hard. They will go on a diet, and it's very, very hard to stick to that diet because they feel themselves getting hungrier. And there is research to support this, that people get hungrier when they go on diets, when they start losing weight. And it recalibrated what I thought I knew, because I had taken for granted, one, that when I dieted, it was temporary.
Yep.
And two, just because I found it relatively easy to lose a few pounds doesn't mean that it's easy for someone to lose 100 pounds and then sustain 100 pounds for the rest of their life. And that to me was something that shaped how I discuss fat loss as well.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot less about calorie balance than most people think. And it's a lot more about habits and psychology and emotional regulation and environment and all of these other things that aren't discussed. Because
biology.
If it was as simple as people make it sound, diets would work more frequently and more reliably. Because you could say, just eat fewer calories. And you'll go, well, thanks a fucking lot. I'll go and do it. And then 6 months later, you're exactly where you want to be.
You're like, I knew that.
But most people, that is not what happens. And I realized that whilst it's super easy to talk about calorie deficits and to talk about protein and talk about whatever, most people aren't struggling because of lack of knowledge as much as they are struggling with implementing that knowledge.
The execution. That's where my interest in behavior change comes in. And I really think that this provides even more evidence against the very common misconception that people in bigger bodies are lazy and less disciplined.
Yeah.
And when you really come to understand factors such as food noise and the drive for hunger, differing levels of drive for hunger between individuals and everything else, it really helps you get that it's so much more complicated.
I get a lot of hate on social media. I know that's part of the reason you asked. A lot of hate on social media for this. For example, right now, if I went on my YouTube comments and I went in the filtered inbox, which is people that have sent you messages or comments that it's picked up as possibly offensive.
Yeah.
One of them that's literally there now says, I bet fat people love you. You just make excuses for fatties, or like something like that. And that is how I am perceived when I talk about these things. And I don't give a fuck if I offend that subset of people, because there is much more important education that I can deliver for a much bigger subset of people. So when I have talked about reasons why some people find losing weight difficult, and when I've talked about things like fat shaming and weight discrimination and genetics of hunger or differing biology or inter-individual differences in fat loss results to the same stimulus, things like that, people go, you're making excuses. And I'm like, this isn't an excuse.
No, you're explaining.
Right. If I say, I would find it easier to run 100 meters fast than you would for various genetic reasons, height, for example, male, female, whatever, that's not making an excuse for you being slightly slower than me. That is talking about known biological differences between you and me. So if I say, FYI, some people find it harder to lose weight for XYZ, that's not me saying, this isn't me delivering excuses. It's not me saying you'd never have to put in effort. This is not me diverting responsibility. It's me saying, you as my client, I hear you when you tell me you found it hard.
Yep.
And I haven't just said, have you tried eating less? Which is what personal trainers on social media do.
And moving more.
Just eat less, move more.
Yeah.
Well, brilliant. Thanks. You solved the obesity crisis.
Okay, next statement. Bodybuilding comes with risks.
Yes, factually correct.
Yes.
Next.
And you've actually posted a number of times over the years clips of different celebrities like Hugh Jackman, Zac Efron, Taylor Lautner,
Channing Tatum.
Yeah, Channing Tatum, talking about when they would have to get shredded for different movie roles, how horrible they felt.
So if you have a viral video, I think sometimes it teaches you things about what people think. And I think my first ever viral video on TikTok, I posted a photo of myself from a photo shoot. And I said, this isn't fitness. This isn't healthy. I'm allowed to say that because it's me. And then I gave background. So when you take a fitness model in the absolute depths of their contest prep dieting equivalent, most of them will openly admit they feel like shit for a brief period of time. That is why one of many reasons why they regain weight afterwards. Bodybuilders don't stay contest lean forever. And most of them will say, I felt shit when I was on stage. So I basically addressed this. I don't know if it's a misconception because I didn't know if people believed it, but I was basically saying, if you see people who are very, very lean on social media and you're aspiring to that, which is what I have done in the past, just a heads up, that's not necessarily a healthy thing to aspire to. And I say that as someone who was literally a teenage boy reading Men's Health magazine, Men's Fitness magazine, Flex magazine, bodybuilding magazines with guys that were juiced to the gills a lot of the time, oiled up a lot of the time, posting their best photos taken by professional photographers.
Yeah.
And I remember bumping into a fitness model one day at an expo and not recognizing him because the way he looked in real life and the way he looked in a magazine didn't pair up. And I remember thinking how much camera trickery was involved in these photos. So I was just like, FYI, if you aspire to look like someone like me, which some people have told me on social media, just know that that is not how I look now. And that is not something that I think is particularly healthy. Yeah. And it got, I think, like 8 million views on TikTok. Yeah. And I remember it because I don't get millions of views at this time. And the comment section reminded me or reiterated to me why it was an important conversation, because people were arguing with me. And all I have said is, this is me. I didn't feel healthy. And I gave examples to why I didn't feel healthy, like hunger and whatever.
Yeah.
And people were arguing with me and I was like, no, stop the bus. I'm telling you how I felt. You don't get to tell me.
They don't want to listen.
You don't get to tell me that I was healthy there when I was living in that body and I felt like shit. And they were like, well, but this person is lean all the time. And I'm like, that doesn't mean anything. I'm just saying that a lot of people, when they diet to here, there are often adverse health effects. And this is also seen in research. Firstly, go and ask 50 bodybuilders or 50 fitness models or 50 bikini competitors how they felt in contest prep week. And most of them will admit they didn't feel their best.
Yeah.
Not all of them feel like shit. Some of them do.
Yeah.
Side effects vary. But also, if you look at research papers where they track bodybuilders or track physique athletes or track fitness models or whatever, you will see things like testosterone levels dropping. You will see people losing their menstrual cycle. You will see adverse hormonal reactions. You will see adverse mood reactions where people get irritable and more angry and all of these things. And that's seen in research papers where you actually ask bodybuilders and physique athletes, whatever. This is studied now. It hasn't always been. There isn't a lot of research.
And you have worse mental health.
Yeah.
Too. Body dysmorphia.
Right.
Spikes.
Again, like when I was younger, I saw a documentary about bodybuilders. And the guy jokingly said, like was talking to him, and he was talking about the fact that even though he was fucking massive, he was like, I still feel skinny. And it opened the door to this conversation about body image and body dysmorphia. And this is like an Olympian level kind of bodybuilder.
Yeah.
And he said, I still feel skinny. And he's like, it's body dysmorphia. And he laughed. And I remember the interviewer saying, how many people in this bodybuilding gym do you think have body dysmorphia? And he was like, probably all of them.
Yeah.
And he was so matter of fact about it that it kind of surprised me that when I talk about these topics, some people get so disgruntled, because I don't think it's a secret. It's just
you're highlighting something
right. And people get very defensive when you insult their chosen sport, but I'm not insulting their chosen sport. Like if you really like running and I say, well, running hurts some people's knees.
I'd be like, okay.
You don't have to lose your shit at me.
It's true.
Some people find that when they run, it hurts their knees.
Well, of course, there's other factors involved. But
of course, there are other factors. Yeah. There might be things they can do, blah, blah. That doesn't matter. Yeah. Some people say, when I run, it hurts my knees. I don't like running or whatever it is. You don't have to lose your shit at me because I say that. You go, oh, yeah. I like running. Yeah. But whatever.
Yeah.
I am saying that a lot of people, when they diet, there are adverse health risks, especially when going to the extreme that bodybuilders and physique athletes
going from like pretty lean to extremely paper thin lean.
I'm not saying that someone who is, I know people will get angry at me for using BMI, but it's the easiest way to describe this. If someone is X BMI and they are in an overweight or obese category, yes, I know, blah, blah, blah. And then they go down to normal weight. I'm not saying that that is always going to worsen their health, obviously. I am saying that people who often push the boundaries of leanness will often have side effects that a lot of people don't talk about.
Yeah. And it's a good reminder that leaner does not equal healthier.
Mm-hmm. And certainly not in a linear fashion that a lot of people think. Dieting is not always this benign behavior. I know dieting is not really behavior, but you know what I mean? It's not always a benign path to go down. There are lots of people who diet who feel worse, whether it's the diet was too restrictive or they pushed it too far or they feel like their body's fighting back or whatever.
Yeah. And for some individuals, actually weighing a little more and putting on a little more body fat is actually the healthier option for them.
Mm-hmm.
Agree?
I mean, I've been through periods where I felt better when I weighed more. I know many people who say, once they have regained weight after their photo shoot or contest or whatever, they felt better.
And the other thing I think I forgot to mention before was when you get to that level of leanness, you also can experience extreme mood disturbances. Did you have that? Because I did.
You said that already. But yeah, like I
said
noticed,
mental health. Yeah, mood disturbances for sure.
Oh, I was linking it together because I remember one of the research studies that talked about it. Yeah, I found myself getting more irritable.
Very irritable. Yeah. Quick to anger.
My sleeping was worse.
Yeah.
I had more brain fog. I remember once forgetting right before my photo shoot, I remember going to pay for petrol or gas in America and I forgot my 4-digit PIN code that I'd used for years. My brain wasn't working as well. Especially in men, but libido can often go down. Men are more likely to suffer with erectile dysfunction if they are pushing the boundaries of leanness than they would. And this is seen in research studies that show that men's testosterone tends to diet around bodybuilding show dates.
You mean tank?
What did I say?
They tend to diet.
Testosterone levels tend to drop around. Yeah.
last statement of yours, I'm going to bring up, the fitness industry is not welcoming.
Yeah, correct. Next. The fitness industry, I don't think is welcoming. And I say that as someone within the fitness industry. Whenever I say this, people in the fitness industry get angry at me. I'm literally in the fitness industry myself. You don't have to get your feathers ruffled because of it. Here is how I know the fitness industry is not welcoming. Example 1. I once had a client who hated the gym so much because she felt like people would comment on the way she looked and how much she weighed. And there are instances of people perhaps making jokes in the gym, etc., that even though she was a paying member of the gym that I was a personal trainer at, she asked if I could train her outside, which meant, imagine a big, fairly luxurious gym by most gym standards.
Yeah.
And it's December. And instead of training inside in the warm with all the fancy equipment, we were training outside on the balcony equivalent where no one was there, in the cold, in the dark, because she didn't like being in the gym. That is not reflective of the fitness industry as a whole, but that's how some people feel about gyms. Now, how many people have been in a gym and not felt welcome?
Yep. Me.
How many, you can use it from like a female specific example. If you look at female specific research papers or women specific research papers, I know they often use different terminology. If you survey women and ask about their experiences in the gym, they will often have unique experiences to why many of them don't like gyms. Things like the free weights area feels like it's only for men. If I go in there, I feel like men stare at me. I feel like I get unsolicited comments. I get people pressuring me to leave equipment. All of these things means that gym environments are not super welcoming for lots of people. Now, hardcore gym bros like myself will often feel very comfortable in a gym because it's our natural habitat. And I feel like that. When I go into a gym I'm very familiar with,
like, I'm home. Yeah.
I walk in, it's home away from home. But if I go into a different gym, I've been into gyms in other countries where I've walked in and I felt a little bit out of place. People are looking at me when I come in. We don't recognize this guy. He looks foreign, whatever it is. And all of a sudden, I enjoy the gym a little bit less. To a lot of people who don't go to the gym all the time and they're not hardcore fitness enthusiasts, or they don't look like hardcore fitness enthusiasts, when they go into a gym, they feel like they're judged.
Yeah.
Most people will recognize that happens on some level. Now, that is the same thing with the fitness industry on social media. For example, someone posts a video on TikTok that I get tagged in, and it's a woman crying because someone has insulted them in the gym. That sucks. We all agree that sucks. Everyone should agree that sucks. You only have to read through the comments to realize that it's not just a gym thing. It is a gym fitness industry belief. You only have to see some of the reaction videos from other people to realize that they're not being met with the warm, welcoming hug.
What was it specifically about that person that made them the target of being made to feel unwelcome?
A lot of the time, weight.
Yep. So weight stigma, right, is a big one. Yeah.
More often than not.
Yeah.
Like there have been videos where people were filming themselves and they have acted like they've caught someone in the background, mocking them or laughing at them or shouting something or whatever. And I think on social media, like I say this as someone who is about as deep in the fitness industry as people can get. Like I have been doing this now. I have worked in the fitness industry since I think I was 17, my first gym job, which means I've worked in the fitness industry for more than half of my life.
Yeah.
It's my job. It's my passion. It's such a huge chunk of my life. I don't like a lot of the fitness industry, and I don't find a lot of the fitness industry welcoming.
Yep.
I see people on social media being personal trainers, talking down to people, being condescending, implying that people are lazy every time they're struggling with something, implying that people are lacking discipline every time they're struggling with something. I think the industry is full of a lot of really judgmental assholes that don't realize why so many people hate personal trainers. A lot of people, if you ask...
And you're like, you're part of the problem.
if you ask a lot of people what they think of personal trainers, I think they will often view us as very wanky, judgy. Ironic that I'm saying it like this, but dudes in tank tops in gyms who are shouting numbers and counting reps and just telling you to work harder and whatever. I don't think we have a great reputation. And I say that as someone who feels it myself. I know people on social media where I'm like, if you were my personal trainer, I wouldn't want to go to the gym because you are insufferable. And I think that is how a lot of people view personal trainers as a whole. I had a client once who I worked with her for ages, loved her to bits. We got on really, really well. But she told me that when she first came to the gym and she asked for a personal trainer, she hoped I was the one personal trainer they didn't recommend.
Yeah.
And she asked the reception desk and they said, you should train with Ben. He's great.
She's like, no.
And she's like, oh, fucking hell. So she contacted me and we got on so well. So well. I'm still friends with her on Facebook. I could happily message her. Loved her to bits. And she said, I was intimidated by you. I was intimidated by the way you looked.
Yeah.
I was intimidated by the way you walked around the gym.
Probably look quite serious too.
I'm a pretty stoic person. And she was like, I just thought you were this really like stern, cliche.
Intense. Yeah.
And she's like, you're obviously not. Now I know you're like the opposite of that. But the point is, even when I'm not the person she thought I was, there is still this stereotype that I was going to be this moody, judgmental, militant,
because a lot of people
unforgiving,
who look like you are like that.
And I just think I think it upsets me that so much of the fitness industry has a bad reputation because the fitness industry has the power to be amazing. Going to the gym can transform people's lives. Getting exercise and being habitual with exercise can transform people's health. And I would love it if more people did it. And every time I'm tagged in a video from someone who's had a bad experience in the gym, I think maybe I can change the trajectory of how they view exercise.
Yeah.
And that lights a fire in me. And that's why I call it out. And I'm not calling it out because I'm trying to be holier than thou. I think I'm better than other personal trainers. It's not that. It's because I think if I can put gym positivity out there, maybe more people will feel less apprehensive about going to the gym.
Yeah.
And if I can do that on social media on a big scale, that is a footprint on the industry that I'd be proud to leave behind and put on my headstone when I die.
I think you're already doing that.
I hope so.
Last 3 questions. Let's make them quite quick. No need to elaborate. Yes.
No need to elaborate. Okay.
What are some health and fitness beliefs that you've changed your mind on over the years?
The list is so long, I don't even know where to start. If I looked at almost all of the training and nutrition advice that I followed when I was younger, most of it is bullshit. I have gone through...
Okay, name some of the big ones.
Okay, I used to think that carbohydrates were uniquely fattening, calorie for calorie. I used to think that sugar was uniquely fattening, calorie for calorie. I used to think that meal timing really, really mattered for fat loss. It doesn't. I used to think that protein timing really, really mattered for muscle growth. Doesn't matter that much. I used to think that training frequency was far more important than it is. I used to think that rep ranges were far more important for muscle growth than they are.
Yeah.
I used to think a lot of things. If you look at what I do now compared to what I did 20 years ago, almost everything is different. And I would cringe to look back at some of the stuff that I believed in the past.
I think that's a good sign though. Cringing when you think back, it means you've grown and evolved and learned.
I think the positive spin on it is I've grown and evolved. I do think that's a really positive trait. I do think that there were things when I was younger that I believed too easily, which I think is still important to admit. I believed in too many fads. I spent too much money on supplements that did nothing. I did too many things that either didn't give me as much benefit as I thought or came with bigger risks than I realized. Yeah, lots of things.
That's a good list. What is a misconception people have about you?
I think people think I'm an arsehole. I think on social media, if I get a lot of hate, every single day, if I looked at every social media platform that I'm on and I looked at every single comment, I would get at least one hate comment every single day. In fact, before this podcast, I was browsing my notifications. I have probably 5 to 10 new hate comments on YouTube than I had this morning. People that are, I'm not talking a bit upset. I mean, people insulting me, going to town, trying to be brutal. And I think people think I'm an arsehole when I talk about things they like in a negative light. So if I mock the carnivore diet and they're a carnivore diet fan,
they take it personally.
They take it very personally. Yeah. If I mock intermittent fasting and they're an intermittent fasting fan, they take it very personally. But a lot of the time, I'm not mocking things because I think it's shit. Sometimes I'm mocking it because people are believing in it too heavily. So for example, say intermittent fasting.
They're too militant, yeah.
I have made many videos talking about why I don't think intermittent fasting is the holy grail that a lot of people realize. And I have comment sections full of hundreds of comments of people insulting me and talking about how the fact intermittent fasting is amazing and how I must have never tried it, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I literally did it for years.
Yeah.
You know that I have intermittent fasted for years.
Yeah.
Part of it is I would skip breakfast when I was working a lot and I just got in the habit of skipping breakfast.
Yeah.
I was like, I literally have intermittent fasted for years. I think it's overhyped. I think people are selling it because it's marketable, but people think that I'm trying to be an arsehole and I'm trying to go around shitting on things. I'm not trying to go around shitting on things. I am trying to recalibrate people's expectations for things that they're about to spend money on, spend effort on, spend time on.
I think that's fair. You're helping them make an informed decision, proper informed decision.
Yes, I hope so.
Last question.
Mm-hmm.
You have a baby on the way. We have a baby on the way.
Yeah.
Knowing this, how has this impacted your health and fitness, if at all?
I think this is part of the reason that has reiterated to me why running is important, because realistically, let's say I put 5 kilos on my bench press between now and 12 months from now or whatever, my life would not change in any way. In any way. The only person who would know would be me. I don't powerlift. You wouldn't see any visible muscle difference. Like my body looks nearly identical as it did 5 years ago. But I would enjoy that I'm 5 kilos on the bench press stronger. But going from 0 to running more and seeing my fitness levels improving and feeling my fitness levels improving will have had a more significant impact on my health. And if I can live longer and have more healthy years on this planet, those are years that I could spend with our daughter, because I'm not the youngest father.
Like, I'll be 39 when she comes.
And there's no judgment to people who are older than me. It's just, I know that statistically, I am halfway dead.
When you say it like that, it's so morbid, yeah.
I am, like, if you look at the average life expectancy of men in America, where I now live,
something, yeah.
I have now crossed the halfway mark. And you have to take off a few years at the end because you're probably not living your best life most of the time. So I have less than half my life left. And it makes me sad to think that when our daughter is my age, I might be dead.
Yeah.
And I think, wouldn't it be great if I could scrape a few more years on this planet? And not just a few more years on this planet, but a few more healthy years on this planet. Yeah. Wouldn't it be great if I could play with her a little bit longer?
Keep up with her on the field, running around.
Yeah, when I was a kid, like, I remember my dad, he would run with me and we'd play frisbee and cricket and football. And like every weekend when I hung out with him, we would go and do some kind of activity.
Yeah.
And I was kind of worried that my health was not in the best place. And I was worried that she might be 5 years old or 10 years old. And I would struggle to do things that I wished I didn't struggle to do. So it's changed my motivation. I talked about this in my book, actually. I talked about how if you look at barriers and facilitators to exercise, people's initial motivation to exercise when they're young is often very different to when they're old.
Yes.
And we said earlier in this podcast that I started lifting weights because I like the validation of other people telling me that they liked my six pack. But now I'm more likely to exercise because I think, wouldn't it be great if I could still play with my daughter or my
life
or grandkids, like our grandkids, when I'm 70 years old? To me, that's a much more important motivation.
And I think it's a deeper motivation too.
Yeah.
I really like that.
I need a deeper motivation to stick with running because I enjoy it less. And that is a deeper motivation.
And who knows, maybe one day it'll be the three of us running together.
That'd be cute.
Or we're running together and we're pushing her in a stroller. That'd be really cute.
That'd be really sweet.
Yeah. I really love that. Thank you for letting me basically grill you for a very long time. I feel like you put up with my questions quite well.
Yeah.
I think that wraps it up for today. We'll catch you at the next one.